Sometimes I get involved in the product early on before everybody knows about it, and it's good to do that. Then you can do your own marketing and get it out to people. And I always love taking new products out to people, and that I like, that I think they would like, and that's kind of a cool thing to do. So I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a salesperson. I don't want to mention his name, but he was telling me about these speakers, and he was like just so excited about them. And he had bought a pair, and he said, George, you should get involved with these things. And I said, okay. And he said, they just sound so good. And I think they make like a double 10 with a it's a dual concentric, like a horned, and then they had like a double 15 and a double 12. So, but the company comes from a PA background, and they were making their first studio monitors. So I got in touch with a company, and they sent me a pair of their speakers. They sent me two pair, and I think I may still have a picture of them in our old showroom. And we hooked them up. They were self-powered, and they were huge sounding, but the amplifiers were hissing. So no matter where you set them, because my showroom was pretty big, I was 20 by 20, I could set them down back further or closer, and it was all acoustically treated, my room. So the only thing is that hiss, we couldn't get rid of it. So I a lot of times when I get a pair of speakers and I notice something right away, I want to run it by somebody else and see what they think, and just watch their reaction. And so I called Doug Fern, who's a good friend of mine. I said, can you come over and just check out these speakers for me? And it's pretty cool. And it's interesting. He flew his airplane over to the closest little airport, and I just drove up, picked him up, took him over to the studio, and we sat down and we were listening to the monitors. And he says, yeah, they sound good, but that hiss, what's up with the hiss? And that was so he picked it out right away. So I took him back and got in his airplane, and he drove back. He flew back home. So but the only thing is, now I had these two sets of monitors. They were pretty big in flight cases, and I had to return them, and it was going to cost a fortune. This company was in upstate New York, so I had to get somebody to drive them all the way up there. So, the one thing I keep on saying, you got to trust your own ears. And the guy I talked to, I know him well, and he all has just great, fantastic gear in his own studio. And I just didn't know where he went crazy and heard these speakers and fell in love with them. But I did check. I talked to him, and I checked the studio, and he actually uses them. And I just don't know how you can with all that hiss coming out of those speakers. But it also reminds me of another speaker company. But by the way, those speakers were a company called Fulcrum. And I don't think I'm doing any damage to them, but I don't think their studio monitors, maybe they fixed that the hissing problem, but that was, this was early on, and this is like 7-8 years ago, so maybe they got that all sorted out. But there was another company I was dealing with, K&H. They were out of Germany, and they were looking for a distributor, and they brought me their monitors. They had this three-way. Neumann owns them now. They have a three-way monitor. It has a tweeter, and it's a big mid-range and a woofer. And I think it's like, I don't know, I think it's a 10 or an 8-inch woofer. But they sounded really good. The only thing is they had a limiter built into the amplifier. So when you turned them up to a certain point, it would just shut off the sound. And that was it. So you couldn't push them hard. And they were a closed a monitor. They weren't ported at all. And I talked to the designers. I had a bunch of meetings with them. And they said, well, that's the only way we can make it so there's no distortion in the speaker at all. I go, well, yeah, but people want them louder than this. It's not going to work for them. So I took those speakers. I remember taking them over to Eric Bazilion's studio and not saying anything to him. And I just wanted to see what he thought about him. And he's listening to him, and he's, bobbing his head, and he's going, wow, these sound great. And at a certain point, boom, the sound drops out. And I was like, oh. And he looked at me right away and said, what happened? I go, oh, it has a limiting fee. He said, I can't use these. And I think I even took him over to Jazzy Jeff's studio. And it didn't take long for him to, make them clip and turn off. So you have to kind of listen to things for yourself to find out if they're going to work. I mean, I have to do that as a filter for our clients, but I also do that to kind of find out if they're actually a product that someone would be interested in. So that's my story. I'll post a picture. I think I have the picture of the Fulcrums in my studio. You can see how big the room was. Okay, there you go.